So, as a parent, creating a safe space for your child to feel like they can start to unmask and be their more authentic self is really important. And I think that usually starts with the people surrounding that child and actually changing their outlooks or asking them to monitor their expectations. Don't expect my child to maintain eye contact with you. Don't expect them to say hello or goodbye because that's not important to them. They might want to rush in straight in and say, oh, granddad, can we play with whatever it is that they normally play with at granddad's house? And that's fine. For them, social niceties isn't the point of the visit, is what they would normally do and what they get out of that. And I think it'd be encouraging people to appreciate the joy in the interactions that they do choose to have with you. Because I think if an autistic child chooses to interact with you, that's actually a really big compliment and a really big deal. So definitely asking people to accept your child for who they are and not to put undue pressures on your child. I'd also celebrate the things that they do that bring them joy. So, for example, stimming and things like that, and celebrate that, and say, wow, that's a really cool thing you're doing. You're doing that to self-regulate yourself. Like, that's so clever that you've worked out that helps calm you down, or that makes you feel good. I'm really enjoying yourself in that way. I would never sort of try and mimic or copy someone's autistic behaviours because they're often private to them. But you might want to share things that you do to self-regulate. So you might like, oh, you really like kind of tapping and doing, I really like chewing gum or whatever it may be that you also do, because we all do something to self-regulate, even if it's quite a small movement. In order to help your child feel more comfortable at home, you might want to create a safe space, a quiet space with maybe sensory toys or their favourite objects and things. And you might say, this is your place, and you can be yourself. And, no one's going to come into the space without your permission. I think that's really important, because even if you're saying, hey, it's okay to stim, it's okay to do these things, the child might feel like actually that's quite private to them and they want to do that. So allowing that space, but equally also saying, trying to inhibit any behaviours and saying, oh, don't do that because, it's unusual. So just acceptance, I think, and allowing space. Talking to your child about masking and helping them to understand, I think, is a really important thing to do, because your child may not necessarily realise what they're doing is masking, or they may not recognise the payoff of masking. We often see children who, go throughout the school day, hold everything in, and then they come in and they absolutely explode. And sometimes when a child's had an outburst like that, they can feel guilt, they can impact on their self-esteem. So talking to them about that and unpicking that and say, well, you've been trying really hard all day in school and you've been in this noisy environment and everything. So it's understandable that would have a consequence and that would have an impact on you. So let's think about what we can do when you get home to help you kind of decompress. So when it comes to helping your autistic child who masks, I think the most important point to consider is the detriment and toll that masking can take on your child and how you can support them with that. So first of all, you might do this by creating a safe space for them at home where they can engage in their self-regulating behaviours or stimming. You can also help them by speaking to those around them to manage their expectations of how your child might engage. And finally, you might want to celebrate the big wins and the small wins. So, even if they have that explosive moment at home, you can celebrate the fact that they have lasted all day in a really tricky environment. And then you can start to think about strategies that might help them when they get home, and you can support them to unmask and be their authentic selves.